Hello and welcome. I'm Heather Howard. I'm the chair. We're here at a specially called meeting for the Board of Zoning Appeals. Today is Thursday, May the 29th, 2025, and we're here in council chambers in the municipal building. So welcome to everyone. And we'll start with a roll call.
Mr. Schuman?
Here.
Ms. Howard?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Next, we have the approval of the minutes from the November 14th, 2024 special called meeting. Have you all had an opportunity to review those?
Yes.
Any motion?
I make a motion that we submit those, both November and December, as presented.
Well, I've got some edits, if you don't mind. Sure. On the first one, on page 5, they're not numbered, but there's a paragraph starts, Mr. Schuman, BZA Board, but in the last sentence, the applicant answered, after staff answered all questions, it says, form the board. That should be from, not form. And then on the next set of minutes, two things. One, the attorney for Mr. Urey was Michael Bragg, and it shows
Bradley.
yeah, Bradley, and that's not correct. And then there's another on would be the third page. Last paragraph starts off, Ms. Howard asked if Mr. Urey was calming the size limit, and it's claiming the size limit as opposed to calming. So those are the three edits I had.
Would you like to amend your motion, Mr. Johnson, to include those edits?
I would.
I'll second it to include the edits.
Okay. So, Mr. Schuman?
Aye.
Ms. Howard?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
All right, and the next item on the agenda is a variance request. Trigg Street Ventures LLC, 152 East Main Street, Suite 3, Avenue, Virginia, 24210, who is the applicant or owner. They're requesting a variance to allow a non-mobile home residential development to utilize septic in place of town sewer. Property is located at 525 Trigg Street. Tax map ID number 105-A-31 and 105-A-31B. And at this time, do we have a staff report?
Yep. So, Trigg Street Ventures, applicant / owner, have requested approval of a variance to allow a non-mobile home residential development to utilize septic in place of town sewer. The property is located at 525 Trigg Street. And this is, both parcels are 105-A-31 and 105-A-31B. The property is within the high-density residential district, R3, and the variance request is in keeping with the requirements to apply, therefore requiring the approval of the Board of Zoning Appeals prior to completion. Background, there are currently 11 single-wide mobile homes and 1 double-wide mobile home located within parcels 105-A-31 and 105-A-31B. The applicant intends to remove all the mobile homes and create a residential development on both parcels. Currently, there is no town sewer lines or access for the property to connect to. There is an existing septic system on the property. So in terms of the residential development types they can have there, it's zoned R3, so they can have single-family, two-family, multifamily, or townhouse. Staff findings. As I said, the applicant requests to allow a non-mobile home residential development to utilize septic in place of connecting to town sewer per Chapter 44, Section 4-2-2. According to the current ordinance adopted in 2023, lots within the high-density residential district are not permitted individual sewage disposal systems. So this is why they're coming before you today to ask for that exception. The variance findings to allow a residential development to utilize septic in place of town sewer are the following. A, the property interest for which the variance is being requested was acquired in good faith and any hardship was not created by the applicant for the variance. Staff can conclude the applicant's request is not a self-imposed hardship. There are currently no sanitary sewer lines along Trigg Street, south of Nicholas Street, for a non-mobile home residential development to connect to. The applicant's request was acquired in good faith, and they have submitted all necessary permit and attachment documents into the Town of Abington Planning, Zoning, and Building Departments. B, the granting of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and nearby properties in the proximity of that geographical area. All adjacent properties and properties along Trigg Street from Nicholas Street to I-81 use a septic system. Before the applicant can utilize the existing septic system or install new septic systems, approval from the Department of Health must be acquired. The Department of Health's approval determination must be submitted along with any building permit applications for a non-mobile home residential development. Overall, the proposal will not pose a substantial detriment to adjacent property and nearby properties. C, the condition or situation of the property concerned is not of so general or recurring in nature as to make reasonably practical the formulation of a general regulation to be adopted as an amendment to this chapter. Since the adoption of the current ordinance in 2023, there have been no proposed developments with the request for using a septic system. As a result, the request is not of so general or recurring nature as to make reasonably practical the formulation of a general regulation to be adopted as an amendment to this chapter. D, the granting of the variance does not result in a use that is not otherwise permitted on such property or a change in the zoning clarification of the property. This specific variance request would not result in a use that is not otherwise permitted on such property or a change in the zoning classification of the property. A wide variety of dwelling uses are permitted by right in the high-density residential districts, such as single-family, two-family, multifamily, and townhouse. Depending on the type of residential dwelling, the applicant will be required to follow all applicable zoning requirements set forth in our ordinance. And then E, the relief or remedy sought by the variance application is not available through the process for modification of a zoning and subdivision ordinance pursuant to the Code of Virginia 15.2-2286 at the time of the filing of the variance application. The relief or remedy sought by the variance application is not available through the process for modification of a zoning and subdivision ordinance. So, at this moment, they're not sure what type of residential development they want to do, but to develop that site or those two parcels into a residential development, whether it be a single-family, two-family, multifamily or townhouse, they need to get this approval first from you to have this exception to make septic available. One, if ever sewers brought down that way through Trigg Street, they would have to connect to town sewer then. So, and you're just giving them the exception to follow up with the health department to say, we've got the exception from the town to go forward with this. The health department still has to give them approval, and that would be submitted with all building permits. So, if there's any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer. Up here, you can see just the photo we took of the site and what's currently there. If there's none for me.
And so none of these mobile homes are occupied, is that correct?
No. So it was when the town annexed that area, that was a mobile home park.
Mm-hmm.
It's met one of three categories where it's either been abandoned, it's been intermediately used, or the other one is, in terms of losing a nonconformity if somebody hasn't paid taxes. This one is where it's been intermediately used or it's been abandoned, where you've lost a nonconforming status. And so because a mobile home park's not allowed in an R3 district, they're going to develop into something that's one of the three residential developments. To do that, though, they have to get approval from the health department to have septic, which in our code, we don't allow residences to be hooked up to individual sewage disposal systems. So again, this is where they're just asking for that exception to the code. Again, if sewer is ever brought down that far on Trigg Street, they would have to connect to town sewer. So, but yeah, that's the reason why I come for this. But if there's no more questions for me, the applicant is here to answer, and then after that, we would have a public hearing.
Okay, and let's see, if the applicant would like to say anything, come on up and take the podium.
Rob, the applicant.
If you'll tell us your last name.
Okay,
just for the-
Rob Carneal.
Okay.
basically, I've wanted to do something with this property for a while, and when Mayana worked at the town, she approached me, was like, we might be able to get sewer. So then we were kind of, the idea was to fix up the trailers because that was kind of the only thing on the table. So when she threw out the idea of sewer and doing something new, we were like, we like this idea. So we've kind of pursued it. And then we couldn't really lock in from the town, like when the sewer would arrive, So it was like, well, we could start building, but it might be 2 or 3 years before the sewer comes. So we're like, well, we would like to progress with these ideas, but we had to do this first. So this is kind of just the next step is what we are kind of thinking.
And you haven't fully decided yet exactly what you
No,
wanna
I
do?
mean, like we talk townhouses, but a lot, it's like before we move the ball too far down the court, it's like, well, what can we build out there? So the health department would kind of tell us. If they said you can only build that could limit us, or it will limit us, what the health department says. So it's like if they come back and we can build, we're going to try to build as many units as they'll let us build out there. It could be 2 units, it could be 10, it could be, we don't know. But really, it's up in the air. So it's kind of like until we, and that Derek was saying, I don't know what that will cost, a few $1,000s, I think, is what his guess was, to pay the health department to do the tests to see what we can build. So that's kind of where we're at. Yeah.
Kind of a chicken and an egg
Right,
problem.
yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, thank you all for thinking about it, though. And thanks, Gabe. Gabe's been great through this process.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You all have
Any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll go ahead and open the floor for public comment. If anyone would like to make comment, come on up.
When you come up, if you could please state your full name and your mailing address, we'd appreciate it.
Any takers? No? Okay. All right, we'll close the floor now for public comment. And any discussion? Just 1 second. Yes, ma'am. Come on up, please. If you don't mind, just tell us your name and where you live. Thank you.
I'm Patricia Combs. I live out toward the lake, but I own the land that's adjacent to this area, the old fairgrounds and the racehorse track. And so we're just wondering, like, when you say a septic system, you say they're going to run field lines all out from the different units that they build? Or what, one big septic tank that then pump it where? Or what's that? How does that work?
I can try and answer that. So they're not going to be, it's going to be maybe, depending on what residential one they do, it could be one septic tank, or it could be multiple, but again, it goes back to what does the health department allow them to do. So the health department will determine if they can have 1 or 2 or something like that, and depending on the unit and capacity. But they would have to be able to be within that 2 parcels that they have.
Okay, but it could be sewer lines all up in there. I mean, I know sewer septic systems have to have a lot of field lines, or what, a septic tank, so
And again, that would be the health department that would make that determination.
there'd have to be enough room there around each home or townhouse for,
Mhm.
to occupy, for people that are occupied in the houses.
Mhm.
Okay.
So,
Okay. We have no idea what that's going to be like, and it's not going to go off of their property.
no, it would be on their property.
Okay.
So again, that's the health department that would make the determination of how much they can have and that sort of thing. The reason for this board is just to give them the ability to further pursue that avenue, to go ask the health department. Because by our ordinance, we don't allow residences to be on septic, individual septic.
Well, do they come back with their final plans and say, we're building 10 townhouses there, it's going to be 4 families in each one?
So that is public information, so if you can check with us and say, do they have a development, and we can share that with you then. In terms of that, it wouldn't go before any board, but it's public knowledge when somebody submits that into us for a review. And so you're more than happy to ask for that.
Okay.
Sorry, Board of Zoning Appeals is a fairly limited function. So we can't really address the questions that you have, but anytime that you reach out to the town, they'll be more than happy to try to help you.
It's like we're agreeing to something, but we don't even know what it's going to be yet, you know? They've got, how many are they building right out here on Route 75, row after row?
Oh, yeah, I know all about that.
Are they on a sewer system or a septic or what?
They're on sewer's there.
And if the town, and I assume the town has a plan at some point to run sewer line out there, then they would be required to hook to the sewer line. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think all we're doing is allowing them to pursue, you know, the development there. And in my mind, you know, you're getting rid of a number of blighted mobile homes that you're moving that aren't occupied, and creating something that is at least habitable, and then all the rules and regulations requiring what they'd have to do that would be in place. So all we're doing is allowing them to pursue the subdivision as
approval
they,
of it.
and then it'd be up to health department, town, building permits, all of that. We're not dealing with that here. We don't deal with
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to take the podium?
Yeah.
Do you have something that you'd like to chip in with? We're happy to hear from you if you do. Yeah, it does need to be related to what we're here for.
Well, my mom received a registered letter.
Oh,
And
could you state your name?
My name is Lavonda Wood. My mom is Carol Wood. She owns several properties. She likes to redo houses. But she's got like 10 days left to live. And hospice came in yesterday, so I'm overwhelmed with that. I haven't even got to her boxes of paper, but I do know she has a house across the street from that, 3 houses down. So I thought this was hers, but it's not. But she has a house on Trigg. The registered letter was about a house on Bradley. I guess what I'm asking is all of the registered mail and everything, if they could just give her a little time so that she could pass and me and my brothers could take over her estate. I don't know if they're going to want to demolish it. You know, it's a Victorian house on Bradley, and she was slowly fixing it up. But I guess not fast enough. There must be rules inside the town.
So this
So-
particular property is on Trigg Street.
Okay, she's got one on there too that she's renovating, so,
That might be another department's, because we have to send certified mailers per the Code of
Okay.
Virginia for when we have to notify somebody. So that might be another department, and I can try and figure that out for you.
Thank you.
If you,
I know, there's so much paperwork, I've lost it. I've just.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll close the floor discussion.
I'm going to move that we approve the variance as submitted.
I'll second that.
So I think probably we should have some discussion on the record about the staff findings. And I concur, I have read the staff findings, and I do believe that the ordinance as it is applied to this particular piece of property is both a hardship, and it does unreasonably restrict the use of the property. And looking at the factors, I think that all the factors have been met. So we have a motion by Mr. Schuman to approve it, second from Mr. Johnson.
As presented. As presented, right? Okay. So just to make sure we have a motion from Mr. Schuman to approve the variance as presented, and second by Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
May I continue with the roll?
Please.
Mr. Schuman?
Aye.
Ms. Howard?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
And that variance will be granted.
Mhm.
The next item on the agenda is the reorganization of the BZA, and we'll need to take up appointment of a chairperson.
So I'll just chime in real quick just to kind of update you on terms. Kenny, since you are, Mr. Schuman, I apologize, Mr. Schuman. Your term is up on November of 2025, I believe,
For the,
for the Planning Commission.
no, I think it's next year. I thought it was like March.
Or oh yeah, no, something like that. But in terms of that.
Yeah, I mean, I won't, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a full year for me here.
So that's where it, and so I know you're the representative for the Planning Commission, so that changes off and on. So you could be voted as the chairman, but it might not be beneficial where you switch on and off throughout the year.
Yeah, I don't see that as being beneficial because at some point, like you say, you'd have to check whether it's February or March, but it's one of those two.
Yep.
So I would not be the representative of the Planning Commission for a full year, so it wouldn't make any sense to.
For the other two, Ms. Howard, I did see that you are eligible for another term. You're still good. You still got a couple more years, and same thing with Mr. Johnson. You have a few more years on the board too. So just to let you guys know where everybody is in terms of terms, because I know sometimes that's what everybody kind of always wonders when trying to make these decisions. So I'll let you take it away.
Well, there may be some change. I may be changing my primary residence to a different county. I think it would make more sense, Mr. Johnson, if you could be the chair in case I do make that change and end up having to come off board.
Okay.
Can
So
I have that as a motion and a second?
I move to nominate Mr. Johnson as chair.
I'll second.
Mr. Schuman,
Aye.
Ms. Howard,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Okay, and then a vice chairman.
Well, I think, again, since I'm not going to be on, I think it would be wise, and I'll nominate Ms. Howard. And that way, if she has to drop off, you could choose another vice chairman or chairperson, but that would make sense to me.
Do I have that in terms of motion?
Yeah, that's a motion.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. Schuman,
Aye.
Ms. Howard,
Aye.
and Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
And that's all I have for you today. No old business or anything, so no discussion points to share, so.
No announcements, nothing else going on. Looks like
No.
it's time to adjourn. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Schuman,
Aye.
Ms. Howard,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.